Good morning. So today's our new theme is grammar cohesion. So in this lesson we will speak about text grammar, cohesion and coherence. Let's go. At first, remember what is text. Text is a record of some speaker's or writer's discourse, uttered or written in some context and for some purpose. Remember, no texts are constructed in isolation. Language is a social practice. Meaning is dependent on context. The events and situational factors in which acts of communication are embedded. The subject, the purpose, the circumstances, the physical context, the relationship between addressor and addressed, the previous contact with each other, and the topic. Language has varieties. There are the regional and social varieties or registers. Register can be divided into field of discourse, a subject matter, chemistry, linguistic, music, or tenor of discourse, sometimes referred to as style, for example, formal, informal, intimate, and mode of discourse, medium of language, activity, spoken, written, and Twitter. Language is used in a variety of domains, public, personal, occupational, educational, maybe. The interplay of contexts and domains has brought about the development of recognizable text types. There are regular variations of form according to register and genres developed from register used for a particular purpose. Encounters lead to expectations. We learn to recognize genres by being exposed to them. The texts we have encountered and have expectations. The way we read a text depends on how many similar texts we have read before and the expectations we have about such texts. Text as interaction. Most texts have distinctive features which are typical of and act as signals of the language variety of genre they belong to. We interact with the text using these signals to construct meaning from it. Beyond the sentence. Also, sentences can occur on their own. They usually form texts. This can be written or spoken. There are three prerequisites for the text. A text makes sense. It is somewhat complete and it has coherence and cohesion. So, when is a text not a text? Well, we can tell whether something is a text if the text pick up a handful of, for example, there is given some sample for text. Pick up a handful of soil in your garden. Ordinary, unexciting earth, yet it is one of the nature's miracles and one of your most complex products. Your success as a gardener will largely depend on its condition, so take the first step in gardening. Get to know your soil. It makes sense, we can understand what the text is about, we can translate it, we can paraphrase it, we can summarize it, and also we can explain the meaning to someone else. It is somehow complete, it is made of sentences, not bits of sentences. For example, can I have is not a complete sentence, we know there is something missing at the end, or were not very clear. Is not a complete text, we know there is something missing at the beginning. So, summary of the text. Our text was taken from the first page of a book about gardening. The first paragraph introduces the idea of the important role played by the soil, underlining how unremarkable it is in physical terms, but how miraculous it is in terms of its properties, and encourages the reader to become familiar with this element. Cohesion. Cohesion is a set of grammatical and lexical connections between sentences which are linked together into a text. There are several of these elements in our text. For example, cohesion features. Pick up, soil, your garden, yet it is, one of, also, your gardener, so take, gardening, get to know your soil. So what is coherence? So in this text, in the text, you must find the coherence elements. So at first, we will speak about coherence. The cohesive features. Texts have texture as we have seen. The sentences in a text are linked together into a cohesive whole. The elements are in some way tied together. They are linked by a series of devices known as cohesive ties. Without cohesive ties, texts become a collection of isolated sentences. They are the devices a language uses to achieve unity and cohesiveness in text, is written or spoken. Cohesion. 5 kinds of cohesion have been identified: reference, substitution, ellipsis, and conjunction, which are kinds of grammatical cohesion using clause sets; and lexical cohesion, which uses the resources of the lexical system by using the same, similar, or related words in successive sentences so that the later occurrences refer back to and link up with the previous occurrences. Lexical cohesion, which uses the resources of the lexical system by using the same, similar, or related words in successive sentences so that the later occurrences refer back to and link up with the previous occurrences. The two broad types of lexical cohesion are reiteration, 4 kinds, repetition, synonyms, so superordinates and general words, and collocation, which refers to the habitual company which words keep cohesion resulting from the occurrence of word collocates. Grammatical cohesion. Reference is a semantic relation. It ensures the continuity of meaning in a text involving items which cannot be interpreted without recurrence to the surrounding text, or outside the text to the situation. Anaphoric reference, a reference to elements which can be reconstructed from inside the text. It can be cataphoric, pointing forward as in "this is how he said it," or much more commonly anaphoric, pointing backwards. Example: I met John in the station. He was completely drunk. Where he in the second sentence refers back to John in the first sentence. Only anaphoric reference is cohesive since it refers to another point in the same text. In the majority of cases, it is anaphoric. There are 3 kinds of reference: personal, demonstrative, and comparative. To be able to understand, produce, and analyze texts, you will need to know how to recognize them. Personal reference: use of the personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, mine, yours, and possessive identifiers mine, your. Most pronouns replace noun phrases so as to be economical and avoid excessive repetition. Sometimes the third person pronoun it can refer back not to noun or a noun phrase but to a large unit, sometimes even more than one sentence. Third person pronouns are nearly always endophoric, but first and second person pronouns can be exophoric. Demonstrative reference involves the demonstrative this, that, those, this, the defined particle the, and the adverb here, now, there, then. They are form of verbal pointing, known as the x's, indicating proximity or with a variable reference. They can also be used to refer to extended text. This can refer to something the speaker has said and that to something the other person has said. The former and the latter discriminate between entities mentioned one before the other in an early part of the text. Comparative reference may be general, expressing the identity, similarity, or difference between things, or particular, expressing a qualitative and quantitative comparison. For example, he earns 12,000 euro a month. I wish I had such a salary. She was wearing an orange sweater with a purple skirt. with holes in it. I couldn't bear to see her so badly dressed. The same man was seen later leaving the pub accompanied by a young girl. Naples is much liver than other cities. His right hand held a formal evening top hat. He had a glove in the other hand. Substitution is a grammatical relation where one linguistic grammatical item substituted for lexical one. The substituted item can only be interpreted by reference to the original longer item. There are three kinds of substitution: nominal, verbal, and clausal. Nominal substitution is when one or ones in pronominal use substitute a singular or plural countable noun, and the substitution of the whole noun phrase by the same. Nominal substitution: this sock is flat, get me a fresh one. The bulb is broken, give me a new one. These magazines are old, let's look at some newer ones. Give me a pint of Guinness and a packet of crisps. I'll have the same. Verbal substitution. Substitution of a verb is carried out by means of the various forms of do functioning as proverb, verb substituting for some lexical verb mentioned previously. Did you manage to finish that homework? I didn't, but Martin did. Does anyone live in Grosseto? I need a lift. I do. Clausal substitution replaces a whole clause and not just a verb. It is carried out by means of so to replace an affirmative clause and not to replace a negative one. Is Dora strike on Saturday? They say so. Are you going to Grosseto? If so, we could travel together. If not, I'll take the bus. So, ellipsis. Ellipsis is similar to substitution, but in the item concerned is replaced by nothing. There is an obvious structural gap which can only be revealed by a previous sentence. Nominal ellipsis involves the omission of a head or noun phrases. 10 students passed and another 10 failed. Which jeans are you going to wear? These are the nice. Verbal ellipsis involves the omission of the lexical verb form and a verb phrase and possibly an auxiliary or two, only recoverable from reference to a previous sentence. Is it going to rain today? It may not. Have you been crying? No, laughing. Clausal ellipsis concerned with the omission of a large parts of clauses, full phrases, and more. Who has taken my car key? Peter? Where did you leave those library books? On the floor in the bedroom. Conjunction refers to the specific grammatical devices conjunctions which link sentences to each other. Additive conjunctions add on information, adversative conjunction drive a contrast, causal conjunction make a causal link. Temporal conjunctions make a time link between two sentences. Additive and in addition, adversative but, yet, however, causal so, therefore, consequently, temporal then, after that, subsequently. So, it is the end of our video lesson. So, if you have got any misunderstandings, you can easily contact me. Don't forget to submit all the tasks on the Moodle platform. So, our lesson is over. Goodbye.